Welcome to Sacramento Film Works, where we bring to you all things film. I'm Craig DeLuz.
And I'm Amy Henry. We're glad you joined us today. We've got an exciting show. We are going to be talking about something that filmed right here in Sacramento.
That's right. We're going to be talking about the making of Relic. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Sacramento Film Works is sponsored by the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition, which provides filmmakers an opportunity to learn and network with film industry professionals from throughout the Sacramento region. Join us each Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Access Sacramento, 4623 T Street, Suite A, Sacramento, California. We'll see you at the movies. Last year, I've had the opportunity to work on a fantastic project that was filmed right here in the Sacramento area.
I know, who knew? This is a star. We're sitting next to,
A dimly lit bulb, more like.
Yeah, humble. But this is exciting. I'm really excited about what you guys are getting a chance to hear about on today's show.
Great. We're going to be talking once again about the making of Relic. But before we go to our guests, I want to show you a brief clip from the project.
Yeah.
You okay, man?
I'll be fine.
It's a good thing you're a good detective, because you'd make a shitty coroner.
Detectives.
Gentlemen, what do we have here?
ID on the body says Greg Franco. Now, assuming this is him, there's no loss there.
Excuse me?
Sorry. Just he's a known pimp with multiple assault charges. Unfortunately, they're mostly against girls working for him who refuse to testify.
What's it look like?
Well, we got 15 stab wounds so far, to the front alone, 2 to the heart, and the best one is to the groin.
Ooh.
Yep, somebody obviously hated this guy.
Yeah. What'd you find?
Robert's bracelet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gwen Conklin and Jason Knittle.
Yes, you guys, that was awesome. That was awesome. Now, for our audience that are here, as well as those that are watching, Jason, you are the creator of
Yes.
Relic, correct?
Yes.
And Gwen, you are one of the main writers. There is a collaboration of how many writers for this particular?
There's actually 4 writers, because of course we include Jason, the creator, on our team, and he
Okay.
helps us.
Okay, so this was just recently done back in, what, May?
April.
April 2015. So, wow, not too long ago. So give us a brief background about yourself, Jason.
I'm Desert Storm vet. I spent,
A few years.
I spent 4 years in the military,
Okay.
got out and became a chef. I'm a retired chef now. About 5 years ago, I came up with the idea of Relic, and it just sat in my brain until last year when I met Brian, and he saw it, and he's like, how do I become involved with this, you know?
Now, Brian is...
Brian Jagger, he
he's
is the head writer and the main character. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And it's just blossomed from there, so.
All right. So now, so how did the idea of bringing together a team happen? I mean, I know how it happened, but I think our audience would like to know how it happened.
Yeah, Craig was there. He probably has an
Yeah.
idea of how it happened.
Well, it started on Facebook. It was on one of the writing groups, and it was like Tagline Wednesday or something like that, and I threw my tagline up there, and Brian PM'd me, and he says, I like this, and can I learn more about it? And so he called me, and I pitched it to him, and he said, we need to meet. So we met, and he's
Really?
like, I like this, how can I get involved? We need to get other people involved in this and make this happen.
So
He
the
says,
power of social
yeah.
media.
Yeah, and it was crazy.
Right.
And then from there, we got our writers, and Gwen Conklin and Craig DeLuz, who's another one of the writers.
Okay.
And so that's how we got it started.
So let me ask you, is this the first that you've ever created? Is this one of a few that you've
Well, I've
done
been a
before?
filmmaker for 8 years,
Okay.
but this is the first project that has been this size, and it's amazing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know, Gwen, you've been involved in film for quite a while as well. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, I have actually. Way back in high school and college, I actually was really involved in the theater and acting, and I love that. And then I took a more traditional career route and found that I kept going back to the performing arts. You know, anytime I'd have vacation time off work or be between jobs, I'd find myself wanting to, you know, get involved with the local theater or get involved with the film club. And eventually, I actually went into it full time after getting laid off from the county of Sacramento. And it's been actually a pretty amazing journey for me. Locally, I've probably been doing this for now about 3.5 years. And I've been very fortunate to help with several local projects here. A TV pilot, I was a film production manager for that. I also have co-written and produced, as well as acted in a couple local short films in the area. So it's been a really good place to kind of earn my chops, so to speak.
So is this the first project, though, where you've gotten a chance to collaborate with other writers?
No, I found a couple years ago that I really liked collaborating. You know, a lot of writers, we write alone, late at night, on our own. That's pretty typical. But I had a couple opportunities, somewhat similar in the way that Brian and Jason found each other. A couple people approached me that had ideas, but they weren't really writers. And so I said, well, come over to my house and I'll work on a script with you. And we collaborated. And I really found that that was a really great kind of creative synergy that can happen, you know, when it's the right person. And I just really liked that idea of doing that as a collaboration together.
Now, a lot of people, you know, I know this started off as really a passion project, right? And then it went from a passion project to not just real, but a real professional project. Talk with us a little bit about that transition, kind of how it happened and what you were feeling as that happened.
Well, it transitioned from the moment when Brian, the four of us were talking about sending our script to Tim Russ to be our captain in the show. And he read it and he was like, well, I got a chance to read this and I really want to direct. And he said, do you have a director? We're like, no. So when he finally said, well, when do you want to start filming? We gave him a date, and that's when it went from filming on the weekends with friends and to what we have now.
Actually, he gave us 2 dates and said, choose one, and we're moving forward. So it was really exciting. But it did put us on, of course, a real quick fast track. Because originally the four of us just assumed this was going to be a typical local indie film project. We'd probably be shooting on the weekends. Maybe we'd wait till the summer when the kids are out of school, you know, and probably get funding from Indiegogo and just do it that way. So when Tim Russ came back with that to us unexpectedly, and he'll share that portion of it, that just put us on a huge, new, wonderful level with an extremely short production schedule too. But that was good because we looked at each other and went, okay, I guess we got to figure this out. Because we had no crew, we had no cast. I mean, all we had at that point was Tim, our script, and a lot of hope and hopeful possibilities, basically.
Wow. Great. So Jason and or Gwen, for both of you guys, how does it feel to see this thing come to life? That which you have created, and then that which you have helped to write?
Well, I think I had never expected it to go this far, and I'm glad it is. And everybody involved in this, and even the people on Facebook and the people in other countries that know about this, you know, they are what made this possible. It's not me. I came up with the idea. I had a general outline, and I gave it to them.
Wow.
And they made it happen.
And then, and Gwen, for you?
Well, I've been very fortunate because I actually have had my scripts actually produced. I did 2 of my own short films, so all of the script was mine, and then I've collaborated on a couple other films. But one thing that was cool to me is when, just from a writer's perspective, when Tim said that the script was good, and you know, you're cool on the outside, you're like, oh, that's cool, and inside your little kid is going, oh my God, Tim Russ said he likes my writing. You know, you just kind of have those moments, and I had those moments really all through this production, you know, and it's been an exciting time.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Well, Gwen and Jason, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have the director of Relic, Mr. Tim Russ. We'll be right back. To become a part of our live studio audience and to meet and greet film industry professionals, visit our website at www.ncfc.tv.
Hey man, you get to drive?
Yeah, man, I'll be cool.
I told you about going in there.
I had him to do it.
Don't.
Don't. Dude, we're cops.
And that's his girlfriend. He's gonna be back with him again tomorrow. She's called in.
Hey, leave him alone in there. Beat it. Dude, I saw you doing it.
Leave the lady alone.
It's none of your business unless you want to make it your business.
Come on, man. None of our business.
Yeah, do what your little friend says. Walk away.
All right. Okay.
You forgot to say police.
Oh, right. Stop. Police. Hey, you listen. Don't worry, sugar. He won't be bothering you anymore.
I gotta go. This wasn't accepted by the books.
Of course it was. Wasn't it, sweetheart? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Russ.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tim. This is great. Wow, how exciting is this to have Mr. Tim Russ on our show? This is fantastic. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Go ahead.
It's great to have you. First of all, everybody knows you from Star Trek. Everybody knows you from Star Trek Voyager. Tell our audience about some of the other things that you've been working on.
Well, primarily coming up to Sacramento to work on this particular pilot project, Relic, directing it, on a cast of very good actors, Craig being one of them.
Yeah.
We had another actor out here in our audience as well who played the captain. And this project came about very, very quickly from the time we discussed it. It was less than a month, I think, from the time we talked about it and putting a date together. So coming up here to direct Relic in what is essentially my adopted hometown. My parents lived here, and so to be able to come up and see them and also to work here in Sacramento and shooting what is essentially a series pilot project was a very big thrill. It was very nice to come in and do it, and it was very smooth, very professionally done, and I enjoyed it.
So your passion in directing, talk to us a little bit about that. When did you start directing, and what just gave you that desire?
I began working when I was on the series Star Trek Voyager for that 7-year period. The executive producer, Rick Berman at the time, was very generous and gracious about allowing the actors who were regulars on there to have an opportunity to direct if they wished to do so. They had to put in the time. So essentially I spent about 3 seasons, almost 3 years, behind the scenes in the production meetings, the screenings, the editing room, on stage, observing and things like that. And most of the time I think I actually spent in the editing room was the most critical. And that gave me the opportunity to at least get all the learning and instruction behind me. And also to understand how the show was shot and what the producer liked and didn't like and this kind of thing. And eventually they gave me an opportunity to shoot one of the episodes of the show. And I was very lucky to get a good story, and everything came off very well. I'm very proud of it. So that was the time wanted to take the chance. But you had to put in the hours and behind the scenes learning it.
That's what gave you the bug.
Yeah, that's it.
I know on this project, I know you put in a lot of time on this project. I mean, working with the writers, even working with us ahead of time.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and kind of what that experience was like from your perspective.
Any of the projects that I work on, and many of them, if from a directorial standpoint, there's a certain amount of time that you're going to work with the producers and such on the script, and also sometimes the actors. If I'm working on a project just as an actor, then I'm only primarily going to focus on what I'm doing and my dialogue. But if you're directing it, you got to look at the whole piece. And so if I have the opportunity to, particularly if it's an independent film, the director has a little bit more say about the story and the casting and things like that. If it's a television project like this one, the exec producers actually have a lot more control over that medium. And the directors are generally coming on as guest artists. So to me, the very critical thing, if I can interject my 2 cents or my opinion about something or my feedback about something, is that the script be really solid. The script and the story has to be very tight and very solid. Now, obviously, when you get on the set, the actors are going to have ideas and concepts. The location might dictate something different, or we might try something that's written, it just doesn't work, and we have to do something else. And that comes out on the day you're actually shooting. But prior to that, you want to make sure that at least the foundation of this piece is really strong. You got to have a strong script. You got to have a shootable script, and it's got to be a good story.
So when you got the script from, I assume from Jason,
Yeah.
or maybe, is that what you saw when you
Yeah,
read
I
the
mean,
script?
the very first draft, I mean, and here's the thing, it's a process. I mean, there's, when you're talking about pre-production, it's a process of developing the script. There are going to be a lot of changes made back and forth, back and forth. And I worked with Jason and Brian Jagger, who did most of the writing on it, to get it, we did some cuts, and then we did some additions. We added characters who didn't exist in the first draft. So from draft 1 to draft 7 or 8, by the time we got to shoot.
I think there were 7 or 8 final drafts.
Yeah, final drafts. Final
other drafts.
Yeah, right up to the day or two before shooting, and that's not uncommon. And in fact, right on the that day of shooting, it may be the changes come in. That is the way things are done. So ultimately, the story foundation was there. The concept was already done. That's it. So all now we're doing is just executing the concept in terms of scenes and in terms of characters. So I had a certain amount of input on the script, but not all of the input. So because again, I'm only coming on in a limited capacity as a guest artist on it.
So it causes me to think, kind of moving more towards it being here in Sacramento, you all utilized quite a bit of local talent.
Yes.
And that talent then, when they're given cuts and revisions, I mean, being on the acting side of things, they've got to be on their P's and Q's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the actors that came on board did very well, and we did a good job. We all and again in the beginning process, they may have 5 or 6 lines, and then they may end up having only 2 or 3 when we actually shoot. And then in post, they may not even end up on the screen because we may want to cut for time or cut for something that doesn't work, or we need this and that. So there's in editing terms we talk about as a phrase called you have to learn how to kill puppies. Essentially, that's what that means. There may be some things that you really liked that have to go because they simply don't work. There's a shot in there that I came up with that I'm not crazy about because I wish I would have shot it a different way. It didn't work as well. And on the set, the same thing happened on another scene. I saw something that I thought might work. We tried it for probably half an hour, and it just wasn't working. And I had to do something different on the spot that worked out better. Sometimes that happens, and there is that interplay. The actors come along and say, hey, why don't I do this? How do I come in this way? Why don't we try that? And I'm looking at it going, man, that's great. That's a really nice change. And it points up the character's motivation, points up the character's personality, and in terms of action and the camera, it works really well. And said, well, yeah, let's do that. And so if you're on set and doing these scenes, even after you have a script and you have all the writing and all the text and everything is there, when you get there and actually in the trenches putting it together, there are a lot of things that change on the spot, and you come up with different ideas and things. And the DP, Ben Barber, was amazing. Can come up with a shot that I didn't see. And it's like, yeah, that's a thing of beauty. Let's do it.
Wow.
And rather than saying, well, I didn't have that shot in mind, I don't want to do that shot. You've got to work with him because he's the person with the camera and the lighting and all this kind of thing, and can come up with some ideas. And several times he had some doozies, so very nice stuff. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So have you ever done a show, even if it was something different than similar to Relic, here in Sacramento, or is this the first?
No, this is the first time. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the first projects like its kind here in Sacramento. So we're sort of blazing the trail here locally. Yeah.
So what are some of the benefits you see in terms of, economic development and regionally? When Relic gets picked up, when Relic gets picked up, I mean, what are the benefits to the Sacramento film community that you see how this community will benefit?
Well, I think it'll benefit not only by virtue of the secondary industries that'll come on board to help the production, because it's going to be a regular thing. It also may open the door for other productions that may want to come in and start shooting their projects here. And then also, you're talking about the local talent, local hire. And the production facilities may also grow.
Right.
Those who provide the facilities and the equipment and the gear and things needed to do this, maybe a sound stage, maybe a rental house, maybe something else. So if this picks up and you do get other productions coming in, then you do need a foundation. You need people in carpentry, you need people to build sets, you need some place to build the sets, studios, low warehouses are things that are converted to studios and things to shoot in. You have a lot of natural resources that are not far from here either that can be utilized, whether it's the hills and things like that, the delta, places where you can actually shoot, not just in the city.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of secondary businesses that can come on board as a result if we get this ball rolling.
Right.
Get a chance
Yeah.
going,
Well, let's switch gears a little bit because on this show, Tim, what we really cherish is the fact that we are speaking to an audience that's watching of people that are really aspiring to do what you do or are in the industry in some aspect. But what would you say to a young person, old person, whomever, if they had a heart for directing, what would you encourage them to do as far as what steps to start taking?
Well, there are basic books and manuals and things like that, and instruction on that you can just read and look at, just to get the fundamentals, the basic nuts and bolts of the do's and don'ts of where to put the camera, how to use the camera for simple, basic projects. The next thing I would do is spend some time working with an editor who is cutting together scripted drama, things that have been shot, and they're piecing it together. The editing is really where you want to focus on, because you can watch how raw footage is put together to tell a story. Okay. And when you're shooting, the one thing that you put yourself in place of as a director is in the editing chair. You're looking at going to be on the screen, and you know where and when you're going to cut and what you're going to show and what you're not going to show, and that's how what dictates what you put on camera. So a lot of it's spending time with an editor who's cutting together a scripted drama, so watching a story being put together on film, to watch that from raw footage to assembly to rough cut. And then from there, besides that and just the basic instruction and things like that, you can start shooting short format pieces, stories that are 5 minutes long, 4 minutes long. Start to shoot those on your own, and if you can get them cut together, whether you do it yourself or have somebody cut them together, start working on a short format, doing short films, short stories. It could be yours or anybody's, as long as you're telling a story in 5 minutes. Right. And that's a neat trick to do that. So if you can, once you learn how to do the basics of cutting that story together, then all you're doing from there is expanding the format to half hour to an hour. But you learn the fundamentals by doing those 3 steps.
So getting that eye, that behind the camera eye.
And that was interesting. One of the things that I noticed as you were talking with Ben Barber was just your understanding of the technology, the cameras and the lenses, and how to get those different shots. Yeah. I mean, that was something that when I thought of a director, I didn't think of that. Yeah. But I thought the way that you were able to get a number of shots. Anyway, I found that really interesting. And how much time have you spent kind of getting to know that technology?
That's been over a number of years, and the technology keeps changing. It's all digital electronic now, and the capacities of these cameras and things are growing every year. The basic, again, fundamentals of learning, just the basic fundamentals of directing, you're going to learn things like composition. You're going to learn things like what looks good on camera, what doesn't look so good. The lens sizes and what each lens can do. That's just basic, nitty-gritty, getting into the books and learning a few things and the basics of it from the text. And then from there, again, when you're directing, you typically work with a DP. If you're starting out doing your own shorts, it may just be you and the camera. And the more you do this, the more you know. The more you get to know it, and that's why I'm saying you want to get your hands dirty and working on some short films and projects, preferably with somebody who knows the camera or knows something about cameras, and then you learn from them about what works and what doesn't work. For example, I might say the scene is, I might say to Ben, the DP, I said, well, we'd like to light this from moonlight, which is sort of blue tint, if it's an outdoor scene. And he says, no, we can do that in post. It's better to do it in post. I said, okay, cool, that's fine. And so he knows technologically what's going to be to my advantage. I could shoot it that way, but then when we get into post, we can't change that light tint. If we want it, a certain shade or hue, we can't do it.
Right.
Whereas if we shoot it plain, then we can add as much or as little as we want in post. And that, again, is what technologically opens up all these doors. Special effects or whatever it might be. I can do certain effects in camera, but there may be other things we want to do outside the camera. As CG, we want to extend a set or do something else. Then I have to work with the person who's going to be doing that and be aware of that. So some of it is a matter of how long you work on doing this kind of work. You learn something every single project. You're going to learn more and more. But the very basics and fundamentals, do's and don'ts, like composition, eye lines for camera, lens sizes, what lenses do, long lenses, short lenses, things like that, and basic composition. Those things and how you cut a scene together, Those things you can learn just from the internet, if anything. If not, you can get a book or you can get a couple of manuals and watch and learn how to put together a short film. It's all out there. All that information is available. The rest of it is just putting your hands on it and actually doing it. And the best way to do is to shoot your own short films, and a series of them, preferably.
Oh, gosh, that's great information.
Fantastic. Now, if folks want to learn more about the series, the website is the RELLIK That's RELLIKtheseries.com. And if folks want to follow you and know more about what's going on with Tim Russ, how do they follow you?
My webpage is timrusswebpage.com, and if you Google my name, it's the first thing that comes up. And you can go there. I've got all my projects listed, and what I'm doing and where I'm going to be appearing and things like that. So it's all on the website. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Russ.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Sacramento Film Works is done in partnership with Access Sacramento. It airs on the first Saturday of each month on Comcast Channel 17 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. Well, that's it for this episode. Sacramento Film Works is a project of the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition in partnership with Access Sacramento. We'd like to thank our special guests from Team Relic, Mr. Tim Russ, Gwen Conklin, and Jason Knittle. I'm Craig DeLuz.
And I'm Amy Henry. What a great show, right? Good night. I wanted to keep going, but we can't. We've got to close. This is Sacramento Film Works, where we show you how film works. Bye, everybody.